Thank you for being here today to speak with me. It's an honor to be able to speak with you as a representative of Kubota. Um, my name is Charlotte, and I've been in 4-H for 5 years now. I've done projects like sheep, small engines, fiber arts, and I'm currently in beef. Yeah, 4-H is a big part of who I am, so hence why I'm an ambassador. And yeah, it's really an honor to be with you today on Zoom for this interview. Um, what is your name, may I ask?
Yeah, sure. My name is John Fleming. I'll just say a little bit about my career because it hasn't just been with Kubota, but it has been primarily in agricultural supply. So I worked at a Kubota dealership from when I was 20 to around 35. And then I worked for a dairy equipment supplier called Artex Barn Solutions for about 10 years. And then just about 6 months ago, I was joined Kubota as the territory manager for BC, Yukon, and the Northwest Territories.
Nice to meet you. So I'll start with the first question. As you reflect on your career, can you tell me the story of a high point, a time you felt most alive, most impactful, or most successful in terms of contributing to your community?
Um, so just specific to this question, probably the most kind of fulfilling or kind of exciting experience I've had working in kind of agriculture and that kind of environment is when I worked for Artex. Actually, was able to go to uh, the desert in near Cairo, Egypt, and our company had sold some ventilation systems to a dairy there. Um, and I was part of that install and commissioning crew. We reduced the temperature in that barn from around 55 degrees Celsius to 28 to 30 degrees Celsius with ventilation and cooling solutions. So it was really kind of fulfilling to see kind of how the industry, the dairy industry specifically, was kind of aiding in animal welfare. Of course, it helped in production and milk production, but it was kind of a real high point in realizing what I was doing, what I was designing, what I was supporting as a supplier was actually affecting the animals and the industry. So that was probably my highest point from kind of a fulfillment standpoint.
Wow, that's really cool. I didn't know Kubota did works internationally like that.
So that wasn't Kubota. That was the company I worked with
Oh,
called
right.
Artex. But Kubota is an international company. Kubota has, um, so I'm part of Kubota Canada. There's Kubota entities in almost every country around the world. But Kubota is focused more on tractors, small engines, and stuff. So it's actually your small engine experience is pretty cool. Like Kubota is looking for 4-Hers and other people like actively trying to get people more engaged with engine repair, service technicians, that kind of stuff, because the it's harder and harder to find good young people, developing kind of professionals to come into this industry for sure.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense with the lack of trades nowadays. Moving on to the second question. Thinking about your company's contribution to the community, how do you feel that supporting 4-HBC has helped you make a difference?
So I back to when I worked even at the dealership level, we were involved with 4-H. 4-H just is very, or in my opinion, 4-H is a very kind of holistic and good, kind of good, builds good character in people. Um, it all the 4-Hers I've interacted with going back years and years have had a focus on kind of good etiquette, being very professional, even at a young age, knowing how to hold themselves. So even interacting with the ambassador program, it's very encouraging to see a program that's really investing in your and other people like you kind of in their future ahead of time. Um, it's very common to meet people that don't have that nowadays. So whether it's in animal husbandry, technical trades or in this kind of leadership development or professional development. Kubota is very kind of excited about this kind of investment, and not just for our benefit, but for kind of the community, agriculture community, and professional community. People like yourself coming into the workforce is a very big benefit.
Right, that makes sense. Thank you. And on to the third question. What is one piece of advice you would give to young leaders to inspire their future?
I would say young leaders need to have patience, but also be willing to advocate for themselves. I think some younger people nowadays have had a lot of parental influence, and they aren't as good at being self-advocates. So I brought in patience too, because I think it's good for young adults to learn their job. The best way to kind of learn how to do something is to do it. But once you've done it and you feel like you've mastered it, you have good input, like potentially, and you want to make maybe the job better or different, more efficient, then you need to use your voice. Don't become frustrated where you are, kind of. And that's what I mean by self-advocate. It's like, be confident enough once you've established that you know where you are and what you're doing. Be confident enough to talk to your manager. Say, I have an idea. I've been doing this now for a bit. Don't just move on. A lot of young people in the workforce, once they kind of get frustrated in a role, they look to go somewhere else. I think they'll be more fulfilled and gain experience and grow in a business if they meet that challenge, that frustration kind of head on and move through it. And employers are going to appreciate that too.
Right, that makes sense. That was very insightful, and I think there was a lot there. But so yeah, I found that really interesting you brought up patience, because it's true that I guess in any workforce, if you're not patient, you're not going to go very far or for very long.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it goes into being, I don't know, what I would call being graceful. Like some people are a bull in a china shop, and that can get you a little ways sometimes, but in the end, it frustrates most people. And either one party or the other kind of disengages, kind of leaves the situation. Whereas patience and grace in a situation usually ends up being a long-term kind of benefit for the whole situation. So
Right, benefiting the whole company,
yeah,
not just one person.
and yourself too, I think.
Mhm.
So
Well, thank you for taking the time to meet with me today and share your insights. I'd like to thank you on behalf of 4-HBC for being here today. It was very nice to meet you and get to talk with you.